stick, and he's showing his skills that he can chop things in halves and demonstrates his power. What did you make of that, and what do you make of the first Stalker that we get to see, Matt? Sub-Zero.
Oh yeah, it's so game show at this point, isn't it? It really reminds me of like Gladiators when they're like, and here he is. It's and then it gives you their name, and he's doing all his poses and everything, and then they give you their stats. It was definitely something like that. I mean, they really nailed that part spot on. I mean, that would definitely be the way this would be presented.
When he comes out, he shows like he tries to demonstrate all this power that he's got, and all the rest of it. And he's going in, and then we cut to another part where we see Captain Freeman backstage, and he's doing an interview, Matt. But it's kind of like he's put across to us as he's a bit of a has-been, maybe like he was a big thing like 10 years ago or whatever, and he's trying to give an interview, but they just kind of cut him off like just out of nowhere, and like that. Sorry, Cap, we're going to go to the Stalkers spotted the runner, so we're going there, and you kind of get that first moment where Jesse does a good that expression on his face of like, oh, okay, yesterday's news again. They don't want to talk to me. The vibe I get here, Matt, is that like Jesse Ventura, the Captain Freeman, he's like the oldest of the bunch. He's like probably the more purist of the sports side of it, whereas now it's become so much more entertainment. It's kind of how, in a lot of ways, there is a big connection to this in wrestling. I'm guessing that the sports side has gone, and now it's more about the theatrical side of having these characters and gimmicks are more important. And Captain Freeman, it's not exactly. I don't even know if he would have been playing Captain Freeman how we see him later either. By the way, with all that goofy stuff on. But is that the take you get from him? Because it's weird that how to look at him, because he's not. He doesn't come across Jesse Ventura as the total bad stalker like these other stalkers are. He seems like a little bit more humane about him. Like he wants to do things with a little bit more code of honour.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why it makes him an interesting character as well, because we do see this underlying, unspoken kind of side to him. Like I said, like where you do get the impression that he is a bit overlooked now, and that people don't appreciate what he had done before to make this game show what it was, and we do see that a little bit later on in the film as well, don't we? He does give a little glimpse into that by saying, it isn't what it used to be. It isn't about the sports side of it anymore. And I kind of sympathise with the guy a little bit at this point. I mean, I know he's a bloodthirsty killer, but he definitely has that expression that he can pull off, saying that he's feeling a little bit depressed about the situation.
We haven't spoken about that. We haven't spoken about that wig.
Oh.
I mean, it's kind of a cross between JBL at this point and someone else, the way he's suited and booted as well in this film. But yeah, he's definitely not the Jesse Ventura from the Predator film here that is coming across on the appearance level. Now, we get our first fight coming up, because the three of the runners, they kind of, Richards included, they get kind of compacted into this what is inevitably like an ice ring. All the shutters come down, I think the cage bars come down, and then Sub-Zero just comes running in, like skating across, and takes them all out. Why is he? I mean, it's hilarious. I forgot about that bit where he's like hanging on to the end of his like hockey stick, and he's like gets shoved in the goal, and he's celebrating after, and it's how they're going to do this. But I kind of like this one. This is probably one of the better ones I enjoyed of the fights with the stalkers and the runners here. It turns out as well that his pucks have got like bombs on them, so when he whacks them, that's another weapon he can use, because he's firing them into him as well. What did you make of this fight scene, Matt? And I mean, I guess this is. I think this bit when they kill this stalker, Sub-Zero, I think this is where maybe that whole, what was it, that award they got of most violent film of the year or whatever, maybe that is one of the parts they look at here, because that seemed quite vicious, the way it all came down in the end.
Yeah, I'm with you on the feeling of this. I mean, this to me as well was the best sort of hunter, or the best confrontation with a hunter. I did like it because he was particularly brutal. He had a hockey stick that could cut you open.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was so ridiculously exaggerated and comedic because he was just going to come down there on ice skates and skate around. I mean, I assume if they leave the zone, he's a bit in trouble because he can't really use his skates, can he? And his whole persona would be out the window.
Yeah.
But the fact that he, like you said, he shoots that person into a net and then the net just sort of collapses around him. It's like they will have their special arenas and set up booby traps and you're getting the real point at this time in the film that this whole game show isn't as fair as it really should be.
Yeah, it's the first time. Well, we get this. Ben Richards, he's up there again because he's always got an idea above anybody else, and I think he manages to, he rips down some barbed wire and then he runs it across, and then of course Sub-Zero goes skating into it and it just catches him around the neck, and that's sort of the end of him. That's I think it's quite a brutal death. And then of course they cut to the crowd, who I'm getting the kind of feeling, Matt, that not many stalkers die on this game show. It's all about, it's an easy victory most weeks for these stalkers, and that the only reason they've cashed in on Richards is because they want someone to give them a little bit more of a match. So I'm getting the vibe that Killian would have been okay with this, the producers would have been okay, because this is kind of what they wanted, a little bit more of a challenge. But in the audience, they're kind of quite shocked that this has happened. And I love the way they cut where Killian's back on the mic and he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a horrible words can't express the feeling at that moment." But and it's just I'm sure, it's just kind of unbearable, ridiculous, as if he really means it type thing, expression on Killian's face. But I'm getting that kind of vibe. Is that the vibe you got from the film, Matt? That this was not a regular happening on this game show, and that these guys have pulled off something that rarely happens?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, even if this was just a weekly TV show, once a week, and the fact that there's only ever been 3 winners, and Captain Freed was had been doing it for and he was of the previous generation, say 10 years ago, that would be a lot of contestants that they would have got through there. Yeah. So I'm not surprised they would be quite shocked to see one of them fall. But it kind of makes me wonder though, why is it then later on in the film, when they're calling up more hunters to go in there, they're not particularly worried about going down there? I'd be a little bit worried about going down there after I saw one of my comrades go down. Yeah, they're obviously just killer madness in their head. They don't really have any thought process. Especially, he made it look like it was one of the good guys that died, didn't he? He was this is a sad time. Well, they're portraying it like the people that have probably killed hundreds of people. Just we got to respect that one of our heroes has died. So that's the end of that. So the people look stunned, and then now this is what I didn't get in this film. This is another Arnold line that is goddamn. It's Richard says, "Hey, Killian, he's Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero." That was terrible. Who the hell wrote that line? It got to the point I didn't even understand what that meant. Plane Zero? What the hell? Come on, because somebody not come up with something better than that. Just leave it out. And then, of course, there was that other line at the end, just as they were walking out. I don't know what's worse, where I think Wise says, I'm sure glad we took care of Sub-Zero. And then Arnold replies, he was a real pain in the neck. Oh, just come on. But yeah, that one about Sub-Zero, Plane Zero, I mean, god damn, that was awful. Really, really bad line. I think probably one of the worst ones in it, for sure. Killian, meanwhile, he's on the phone and he's backstage. He's kind of I love it how they cut back and he's always got somebody doing his face and all that kind of thing. It's exactly what would happen. And he's on the phone to the Justice Department explaining about the death of the stalker and how this is going to happen time to time. It's a physical, it's a contact sport. And he mentions that whole thing about Gilligan's Island, doesn't he? And that's kind of funny because he hosted that in real life. So that was a little Easter egg for him in the film. He says, it's the one with the boat.
At the end of it, it's kind of a funny. Now, then we get to back out to the crowd, man. We get another one of these things where, again, they're going to pick another guy out of the crowd. This time, we get this guy called Leon, Matt, who's going to pick the next stalker. But this guy, he can't decide who he wants. Does he want Dynamo or Buzzsaw? Then Killian, of course, says, "Then don't decide, Leon. Hard decisions call for hard solutions. And these two are two hard asses. Step in and take charge." So then he gets both of them to come out. So now we get two stalkers coming out. And first of all, we get this guy, Buzzsaw, who we'd seen earlier come in and lift this bike up in the middle of the air. So he's there. And he's built as, like, they keep saying he's like last year's leading scorer. I guess that means he's killed the most people in that year. So I guess that's what we're getting from that one. And, he's got the whole gimmick with the chainsaw at this point, in it. And, what did you make of that gimmick and that stalker and the way he kind of comes out at first, Matt?
They say with two stalkers at this point, so it's getting a bit hectic here. But Buzzsaw, we saw him earlier, didn't we? And we saw that the whole lifting of the bike, and then he's obviously like supposed to be the strong guy and the chainsaws, and it's a bit crazy. But then, and the other one, Dynamo, I like the line later on in the film when they were like, "Hey, Christmas tree." Yeah. That's just summed it up perfectly. That's exactly what he looks like. And he is by far the most ridiculous hunter. It seems like clunky armour. It looks like got no movement in that at all. It just looks designed for failure.
It's like they've run out of money by that point.
Yeah.
And they had to just come up with the same. But there's an interesting fact about that guy. That actor, he went in, he was literally just going to be this Dynamo character, like. But they realised he could sing. And it was just something that he'd done on the side that he could do opera. And they thought, oh, well, what a wonderful thing. We've got all these gimmicks. Let's have him singing as well. So that was something they stuck in like quite at the end. Like the script had already been done, but they changed it around because they thought it'd be a really good idea. I'm not so sure on that now, to be quite honest with you. But then looking at this guy, it wasn't much better either in all that. But yeah, I mean, they are gimmicked up to the hill on these two ones. But we then get another backstage part where Killian has been told that his rating's up by 9, and then he's been told by Amber, and it's sensational, says Killian after that, because he's then he gets to see Dynamo, the story with the actor. Like I said, he could sing, so thrown that one in. But then Killian, of course, goes back onto the stage, and then we get this whole introduction, Matt, of Amber Mendez. And man, I love this rundown. Now you see that guy upstairs. What is his name? Is it Tony or no? Phil upstairs, who's doing all these voiceover stuff in the arena. I don't know if you saw that small cutscene they done where he's actually talking on the mic, Matt, and he's trying to make it look so worse than it actually is. Upstairs, but like they use like the words like later she cheated on her college exams, had sexual relationships not once, not twice, but 3 times in 1 year. It's like, come on. So I'm guessing, Matt, not only are we living in a society that is run by game shows and ICS, we're now living in a society where things have been patched up. Like. to have 3 different sexual relationships is quite a bad thing now. It's frowned upon. They definitely got that wrong in latest to come, that's for sure. But it made me laugh just because the way the guy was reeling it off upstairs, and you see him doing it as well, and he's like trying to put as much behind it. It's such a bad thing. Not your college exams, and not twice, but 3 men in 1 year. It's like it's just like one of those moments where it becomes funny almost and comical. What did you make of her being brought into it, Matt? And obviously for the film's sake, because it's definitely nothing to do with the book, but she's going to be thrown down there as well. They fix her up with her own stuff. What did you make of all that? And did it kind of feel forced, or do you think it was it was done right? And Did you find the whole thing? I mean, I guess you can't not find it funny with the whole rundown they gave on it, but it's probably about the best thing of it. But what was your take on her getting involved?
Oh yeah, definitely funny. I mean, some things never change, do they? The fact that the news